What's up folks, Mike here at Well Watches. Welcome to the video, and in today's video we're going to be taking a quick look at and a quick review of the Marloe GMT. So this is a fairly new watch. We're in the month of May of 2023. This watch was released earlier this month. They have two versions of the GMT. They have the day version, which is the one that I have here. This is my own watch. I purchased it with my own money. And then they also have the night version as well, which has a black dial. So the exact same watch, but two different colorways. The day version in like a sky blue, and the night version which is in black. But before we get into the watch, I just wanted to briefly touch on the packaging that the watch comes in. Now I really like the Marloe Watch Company and all of the watches that they do. They do some really nice designs. But the box that the watch comes in is a little bit more personal than I'd say than most other watches. Now I bought a Seiko King Turtle quite a while back, and that came in just a plain white box and a manual that was 600 pages and 2,000 different languages, and it was pretty boring and bland, and there was nothing really personal about it. But with Marloe Watch Company watches, they come in a nice box, nice packaging, and there's usually always a booklet explaining what they believe, what they think, and information about the model. The same happened when I got the Futura. There was a little booklet in there, a little card. I think it was a little patch as well, because it's a space themed watch. There was a little sew on type patch that came with that box and packaging. So they really do think about how they want to present themselves, and I think that's a really important thing when it comes to selling something. If you believe in what you sell, then you also believe in how you present yourself, and I think Marloe do a fantastic job. So we've got the black box with the Marloe Watch Company logo on the front there, and sure enough we have a booklet for the GMT, and it's set in like an airport. So open it up, we can see the day version there, and then there's the detailing on the watch. Some information there about Oliver and Gordon, the founders of the Marloe Watch Company. So founders note. That's the actual night version with the black dial. Again, very nice. There's more than one. Goes on about the design of the watch, the reliability of the fairly new Miyota 9075 movement, the value proposition, because the pricing on these watches is £699 here in the UK, which is very good value for money for a mechanical GMT compared to the Swiss alternative. I mean, the starting point I think for a Swiss GMT movement would be about £1,300 in the UK, so it's almost half the price of the Swiss offerings, and I think it's a pretty good proposition as well. So there's information there about that. So we've got about the day version, the night version, and then we go into the specifications. So let's touch on our specifications here. So it's a Miyota 9075, which is basically a 9039, but it has changes to the dial side to make the GMT complication. And if you own any watches that have a 9039, a bit like the Futura or a Mora, for example, you'll know that the 9039 is a really good movement, very solid, reliable, accurate. The 9075 is no different. It's based on the same kind of movement with the GMT complication added to the dial side. So it's a 28,800 BPH, so it's a high frequency watch, 24 joules. It has hand winding as well as the automatic function, 40 plus hour power reserve, -10 to +30 seconds a day. They have to be quite conservative, but the accuracy generally is much better than that. Japanese made, hacking function, and a Parashock anti-shock system from Miyota. So the movement in this watch is extremely solid, tried and tested through other models. The complication on the front changes the caliber name, but basically is the same as a 9039. The construction of the case, 42mm diameter and a 10.95mm depth excluding the crystal. 20mm strap, which is really good because there's absolutely hundreds if not thousands of different straps in that kind of dimension, so it's good that it's a nice standard size. Bespoke design with dual texture case, which means it's polished and brushed. Sapphire box crystal with dual side anti-reflective coating. Multi-layer dial with applied indices and printed markings. Jetstream hour and minute hands with luminous fill. Hairline seconds hand with counterweight and luminous fill, and a floating GMT hand with luminous fill. 50-meter water resistance, and total weight, probably not including the strap, 70 grams, although it could include the straps. Even with a strap, it's not going to weigh too much over 100 grams, I don't think. So there's how to set the watch, how to set up the GMT, although the best way to check this out is to go onto the Marloe website and watch the video that Gordon makes on how to set up the GMT. I didn't buy the watch for the GMT function, I just like the look of the watch, which seems really strange, but a lot of people don't use a GMT watch for a GMT function. So 3 different time zones for the GMT. It's an automatic watch, so it's powered by you. A bit of information there, a bit of information about maintenance and servicing. Time well spent, which is a common slogan used by the Marloe Watch Company. And that's it. That's the little booklet that's included with the watch, and I think that's actually pretty cool. It comes as standard with most Marloe watches, which is really nice. I haven't seen all of the booklets. I know this one and the Futura has one. I can't remember if the Haskell has one. I'd have to dig out my old Haskell box, but it shows that they actually care. It's a company that has purpose. They believe in what they're producing, rather than just a mass-produced watches like Seiko, for example. So we've got the GMT card here. So you've got a departure board like an airport. GMT limited release. Down on the back here you've got the basic information about the movement, the dimensions, and this is number 4, the same as my Futura. My Futura is a number 4 as well. Nice little touch. And then of course the inside of the box, you have the standard grey Hessian cloth finish, which I think is the same as what they use in nearly all of their boxes, but it's a nice quality box, and you can see that it's been very well thought out. So enough about the box, let's get on about the watch. Now I've been wearing the watch for about 10 to 12 days straight, and I have to say I'm very impressed. One thing that won't come across in video or photo form is just how good this watch looks. It does look a lot more expensive than the price tag would suggest. The polishing on it is absolutely superb. Probably not going to see it because there's lots of fingerprints on my one because I've been wearing it. Let's give it a quick wipe. But the polishing is really good, high quality finish, and it's definitely not going to come across in the video. So you've got the polish on the lugs, then it goes just underneath the bezel there. You can see the little shine of light coming off that polished surface, and then again on the case back, that's all polished as well. And then on the sides you have the straight brush finished. You've got the polish of the coin edge bezel, and then you have the sunburst effect brush finish on the top side of the bezel. So the duality between the brush finish and the polish finish on the watch is really nice. It's something that you'd expect on a high-end watch, and it's nice to see it on this watch of this kind of price range as well. So visually it is a very stunning watch. The bezel is very I think it's very retro. It reminds me of a lot of older watches. The whole design of the case in fact is very retro kind of looking, but yet it's still modern, so it's kind of cross between the two. So Gordon has done an absolutely superb job on the design of this GMT. So if we flip it over to the case back, it's not a screw-in case back, it is a screwed-on case back. So we have 4 screws, 1 for each lug, and the case back is secured down. What I do like here is that this inner chapter ring here slopes inwards towards the movement, so it's going to draw your eyes in towards the movement. I think that's actually quite a clever little touch there to draw your eyes into the movement. It's not a super pretty movement like some of the Swiss movements, but it is well finished. You can see the Geneva stripes there on the bridge plate. You get the rotor to move out the way. We can see the automatic reverser and the balance. So there's the reversing wheel there. There's the balance with the parashock system. Getting a little bit closer. So it looks exactly the same as a 9039 movement. I don't have one here handy. I do have some 9039 movements around, but don't have one on hand. So it looks exactly the same as a 9039, but the dial side components are converted into a GMT. So it is the same as a 9039, but just has the GMT function added to the date side. Now Marloe do use other Miyota movements, the 9039. They use it in the Mora, the original first version of the Mora. There will be another version of the Mora coming up, I'm pretty sure. And also the Futura uses the 9039, and I think those are the only two models in the Marloe range that use the 9039. And then there's this, which is the 9075, which is basically a 9039, just with the complication added to it. So the movement is solid. The accuracy, according to the specs, is -10 to +30, but you'll always find that these will run much more accurate. I haven't had to set the time since the first time that I set the watch up. It has remained extremely accurate, extremely true. No problem at all. Now, as I said, I'm not going to use this as a GMT watch, so the GMT hand can go wherever it pleases, but if you do want to use it for a GMT function, there are 3 different GMT time zones that you can set it to. If you want to see how that's done, like I said, the best place to go and see that is Gordon explaining how that's done on their website. There's a little video. I'll see if I can add a little link in the description down below on how to do that. So we've already looked at the case back, and the front of the watch is what you're going to be looking at all the time, and it is absolutely stunning. Now, I'm not sure if it's going to come up on the camera, but I'll see if I can get close enough. But you can see the textured finish to the dial is like a sandy color, a sandy kind of finish. It's really nice texture on the dial. You can see on the GMT hand that it's painted the same color as the dial, so that you only really see the tip of the GMT hand in the red. And the hand design itself is stunning. The beautiful style of hands. Modern, but also kind of a nod to retro watches. And then you have the sloping in GMT chapter, the 24-hour chapter, going around the inside of the box sapphire crystal. And then you have the 24 hours again on the outer bezel. So you can set the 3 different time zones. You'll have your home, you'll have your secondary, and you'll have your you can have your third GMT time zone. But no, visually the dial and hands are stunning, and the black version looks equally as stunning. I'd have had the chance to have a look at the black version, and the black version is really nice as well. So you've got trying to get the second hand. You can see how smooth the second hand turns. So the bezel itself is bi-directional. It can turn in both directions, and it feels quite solid. It's not too stiff, it's not too loose. It's got a nice feel to it. You can often find with a lot of watches the bezel is so stiff it makes it really difficult to turn, but this watch it works quite well. It feels like a ball bearing system is being used here. I'm not entirely sure, but it feels like there's a ball bearing system similar to Seiko divers. So if you like Seiko divers, then it will kind of feel about the same as one of those. Oh, the crown as well. I forgot to mention the crown. The usual signed Marloe crown. It isn't screw down. It is just a standard waterproof crown, but there's a good amount of grip there to wind the watch. But because the automatic is so efficient, you're not really going to need to wind it too often unless you put it down for a couple of days, which you're probably not going to want to. So I went with one of the new straps that Marloe have decided to do with this watch, and this is a sky blue Nitec strap. So it is a leather strap with a nylon, Sonon nylon topping, so to speak. And you can see there's a little bit of fraying on the keepers. This is actually quite normal for any nylon straps. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to wear this strap for quite a while until it's bedded in, because it is still quite stiff even after 10 days. Once it's bedded in and all the fraying is kind of finished, then I'll probably burn off the excess, trim off any excess frayed pieces. But it is actually fairly normal for a nylon type strap to do that. So if you've never had a nylon strap, they do fray, but they can be brought back into line with a touch of the flame. So you've got the Marloe sign buckle there. It is a comfortable strap. It's a little bit stiff, but it is early days. But the beauty is having a 20 millimeter lug width is great. So I'm probably going to put this on a bracelet, and it'll probably stay on a bracelet once that's done. But I want to bed in the strap first. But no, overall the quality of the watch is superb. The timekeeping has been superb. It looks much better than I can portray it in this video. It looks much better than any photos you're going to see on Instagram or anywhere else. I know there's a limited edition. It's a limited edition watch. There's only 500 of each. There's 500 of the day. There's 500 of the night. But if there's any availability still on the website, I would highly recommend that you go for one of these watches. They are absolutely stunning. Super comfortable on the wrist as well. Even at 42 millimeters, which is it's about the boundary of what I like to wear in terms of its width. In terms of its depth, it doesn't sit too proud. I haven't caught the glass on too many things. Really do like the sapphire box crystal. Seems to be a modern trend to go with sapphire box crystals. Very popular amongst Seiko modders to use box crystals, and I think it suits the watch well. It's a modern watch, but it has a retro feel, and I went with this day version because I quite like the pastel color. I like Zodiac watches, and if you know Zodiac watches at all, they like to use pastel colors. And yeah, it's just something different from all the other black dial, silver dial watches that I have. Just wanting something with a bit of colour. So it's a bit like the Futura, the Astro Futura that I have, which I don't have here with me, but it was a square watch. It was something different, so I like to have something different. I work on pretty plain watches a lot of the time. That they're all very samey, so it's nice to have something a bit different. Are there any downsides to the GMT? Well, in terms of the movement is superb. I've worked on the 9039 a lot. I've done a lot of 9039 watches, and I know that the movement is very solid, very reliable. The Swiss actually have an alternative version of the movement. They give it a different caliber name, which I can't remember. But the Swiss have copied this movement, and it's a proven movement. So I've got no worries about the reliability of the movement. I know it's a very easily serviceable movement. In terms of having it serviced yourself, if you have this movement or a related watch with the same caliber, you shouldn't have any problems getting the movement serviced. It's a really straightforward movement to have serviced. So the niggles with the watch would be the strap. The strap is nice. It's a good quality strap. The fraying is a bit of a shame, but that's going to happen with nylon straps. I was expecting it to soften up a lot sooner, but it is still extremely stiff. But that just comes down to taste. I don't think it's actually a fault of the watch. I think that just comes down to taste. Design wise, I have no problems with any of the design. I think it's a beautiful watch. The only minor niggle would be this pip here at 12 o'clock. It doesn't necessarily align absolutely dead zero with the 12, but that doesn't actually really bother me at all. It's just a tiny niggle, and I don't think it's going to be on all of the watches. There are watches that are thousands of pounds that have that kind of issue, and there's a lot of Seikos that have that issue for sure. Yeah, so that's about it. That's the only niggles that I can really find with the watch so far, 12 days in. I think visually it's stunning, and I would highly recommend you go and check them out. But if you don't like the GMT, they do a lot of other versions. They've released a couple of other new watches. They've got a Coniston automatic watch, again another Miyota movement. They might have some Atlantics left. They've got a Tay. The Tay is quite a nice watch. It's a smaller watch. So if you're a woman watching and you want a slightly smaller watch, they do a Tay, which is really beautiful. So I'll leave all the links in the description down below if you want to go and check out the Marloe Watch Company, you want to check out this watch or any of the other watches that they do. I highly recommend you give them a look. And if you haven't got a Marloe watch already, I would seriously recommend getting at least one Marloe watch in your collection, because they're a solid brand, and they're only going to go up and get more and more attention, especially if you're producing watches like this. But that's it from me. It's been long enough, me jibber jabbering, but I'll catch you in the next video. There will be another watch review coming up about a watch I've already done, but a newer version, but you'll see that when it comes up on the channel. So be sure to subscribe, click the little notification bell for when those videos come out, and I'll catch you on the next one. So take care and have fun.